I just got done seeing Lee Cronenberg's The Mummy 2026. It's definitely a new take on the Mummy IP. It starts off with a family, a mom, a dad, I believe a 9-year-old, I think she's 9 if I did the math right, and then a younger brother. And they go between Albuquerque, where the mom's mom lives, so the grandma, and then Egypt. The mom is a nurse, I believe, and then the dad, I can't remember what he does, but they're just like a cute little family living in Egypt and going back and forth, like I said. And you really, get this like real family dynamic that feels genuine in my opinion. So I think the acting in this film was superb and really blew me out of the water. The mom goes to work, and then the dad, the brother, and the daughter are all home. The daughter goes off and does her own thing. The dad's working on something, and she has a secret friend that she meets at the end of the garden. Like there's like a big garden that they have in the yard in Egypt, and then it's like along a fence. So just think of like a big garden area, and then like all the way in the back there's a fence, and that's where she meets this friend of hers. Also at the beginning of the film, there's either a couple or brother and sister or just friends, I can't remember, but they're doing an expedition. They're exploring the Egyptian caves or temples or pyramids, and they end up unlocking something, the thing that, takes over the little girl in the promo. So yeah, the little girl ends up knowing this friend, but it's this creepy old lady. I can't remember if it's the lady that got possessed at the beginning or if it's a different one. But basically, she's been giving her treats every day, kind of, they say, I can't say the word, but rooming her, essentially, into, trusting her. And she ends up not trusting her, which the little girl was smart for that. But the witch or the evil lady, possessed lady, she offers an apple. And it's a pretty epic scene, which is also really creepy, of like the apple splitting open and beetles coming out and going inside of her mouth and possessing her. It was pretty horrific and definitely brought like the mummy aspect to life. This movie isn't like a full mummy movie, so just be aware when you see it. So 9 years go by, they go back to Albuquerque where the grandmother lives, and they have another daughter. I forgot to mention the mom was pregnant, so they have another daughter. They're trying to, cope with the best as they can. The dad's still trying to find her. The mom still is too, but she's the main breadwinner, it seems like. And yeah, it shows the family dynamic, and I really think it was like a real grounded way of showing like how families would try to move on, where like, there is a huge loss, but you have other kids, so you have to try to keep it together. The daughter ends up being discovered because the plane that was transporting her, I didn't quite catch why they were transporting her, but they were transporting her, crashes, which probably is due to the, the mummy magic, as you could say. Crashes, and then that's how they find their daughter. The people in Egypt contact them, and they're like, we found your daughter, but she's in this like really disformed, crazy state where she's doing rapid movements and has tics and just, acting very erratic and just not normal. But it's because she is now the mummy, being possessed by the mummy or the demon, whatever you want to call it in this film. They bring her home because the doctor says like she just needs to get back into her regular routine, or whatever her regular routine was, 9 years ago. But 8 or 9 years ago, I can't remember. Anyway, so they bring her home, but she ends up being violent with the grandma. She butts the grandmother in the head when the grandma kisses her on the forehead. She's not getting along, in general with anyone, and she keeps having to be sedated, and her outbursts and, the trauma that she went through being turned into the mummy is coming out, and the demon is coming out, and it's horrific, and it's sad because all the actors are really good at their job, and they really sell, like, that, they miss their daughter and their sister, but, it's not the same person, so they're just like, what happened to her? Like, this is really, really disturbing, and, like, this isn't the family that we knew. There was also a scene with the grandmother where she ends up trying to help her with something, the mummy little girl, and the girl ends up, using her magic and, like, flinging her out of the window, and then gets him back into bed real quick and makes it look like the Abuelita committed, And that was also a really sad moment because, like, the mom is like, okay, well, my daughter just came back, but she's not normal, and then my mom is gone now. And she falls out of the building onto the car as, like, the rest of the family's getting home. So it's just a really gruesome and just another, building of all this, like, tension and trauma with this family. And it's a lot, but it's good. It's just a lot. Also, I really need to mention this, but I believe this director did Evil Dead 2013 and then Evil Dead Rise, and then it's going to be a new director for the one coming out in July. Or is this no. I think I'm wrong. I think this is the director of the one that's coming out in July. So you definitely get the Evil Dead references, and allegedly this is in the same universe, which it does make sense because once you get infected by the mummy, you become like the mummy. So slowly all the characters become like that. A few of them survive, like the mom, the dad, and the three. No, the dad doesn't. The dad doesn't. Maybe at the end they allege to it, but he doesn't, like, at least on camera fully. But yeah, the three siblings end up surviving. She ends up passing the demon, the mummy, to her dad on accident. Her dad wants to take it so then she can be free, which was really beautiful and kind of, I wasn't really expecting that. But I guess if you love your child, obviously you will do anything to set them free. Yeah, there's a scene with the toenail, which is really gross, and just the beetles, and just, I don't know, the wrapping of it all. It's really intense. Like, this movie to me was even more gory than Evil Dead Rise, and some things were like Terrifier level, believe it or not. So I wasn't really expecting this, and my friend wasn't expecting this at all. They thought it was going to be like the Brendan Fraser one, which they are going to come out with that in like 2028, I believe. 2027, I can't remember. But this is nothing like that one, and it's something of its own, but then like a touch of Evil Dead, which I do enjoy because Evil Dead is like a gruesome franchise that I'm really into. But definitely not for the week. And then this just had its own twist on the mummy concept. So not exactly what I was expecting, but if I had to be an honest rater slash, reviewer, I think I would give it a 7. I think it could have been a little bit shorter, and maybe that would have like raised the score a little bit more. But overall, if you love gore, you're gonna love this one. And even at a 7 with movies nowadays, that's an amazing score. So I think a 7 out of 10 is fair, and it was something unique, and it was super fun. And I love horror, so I just love supporting more obscure horror films, not just Scream and all the mainstream ones. Comment if you guys are going to go see Lee Cronenberg's The Mummy, or if you love Evil Dead. Evil Dead Burns comes out this summer, so comment below and let me know what you guys think of this film, Evil Dead, all of it.